The Merry Pranksters, Chapter 12, Episode 3. The way he framed that statement could be taken as a compliment, if it were being sincere. If not, a veiled threat. The Irishman's tendency to turn all his statements around on you in the form of a question has a redundancy to it you could almost take as condescending. The muscles on Hank's face seemed to relax a bit after that unexpected compliment. He had to conjure up the will to remain adversarial after he posed the other questions he came here to get answers to. Hank asked him what he wanted with the Merry Pranksters, and what happened to Demeen that night at Joey's. Then, most importantly, why it appeared he was supplying him with kilos of cocaine. In addition to turning every answer into a question, he had a few other idiosyncrasies that, under different circumstances, could easily be seen as charming. The way he kept stealing glances from the Chinamen, while completely understandable, became curious after the third or fourth time, and it became more than a little confusing by the way he repeatedly used the word fook, at times seemingly referring to the big fella, but also as if that's how he pronounced the F word. He seemed to be intentionally vague when Hank asked what he knew about this hot new label, Blackout, and their new hot band, the Hollywood Buskers, responding only with a fleeting glimpse at SHOT Show, then saying, "Fook knows the Buskers, mate. They certainly have quite a presence on horse, though, don't they?" It was then that I first noticed a tiny pink petal fluttering down to the floor of the gray cement room. While Hank was still trying to draw water from this stone statue, Ian had returned his attention back to weighing out kilos of coke, and he didn't stop once Hank had finished. It's hard to say he was not amusing himself, the way he spoke in riddles as he continued casually wrapping bricks of dope in cellophane with a nickel-plated Glock 30 nestled in a leather shoulder holster. Still, I'd be lying if I said that, through the thick tension in the room, I didn't find his accent pleasant to the ear. The thrill had gone for Hank, however. He couldn't see the cherry blossom petals drifting in from a far-off land, so he quickly got to the point he was trying to make, and I thought he made it well. What he had to say could be summed up in 3 words. Not fucking interested. He remained composed, yet firm, as he told Ian that whether his beef was about a rogue deal that Gonzo may or may not have made, or Demeen at Joey's, and that whole bloody ball ache, he made clear, "The only deal we're making is, take this bag of cash and fuck off." As if he were not yet himself convinced, Ian mentioned Blackout Records, almost in passing. Then he shifted his eyes towards his tanned bodyguard and asked Hank what he knew about the Hollywood Buskers. Though this could have gotten lost in translation, it didn't sound like he was asking in some intimidating, pikey way. He asked in a way that sounded like he may not be the right man to talk to about it. At some point, I managed to catch him say, "So you see, mate, I wish I could help you, but things may not quite be what they seem." The tension that built in the tiny room as Hank grew more impatient with Ian's Gaelic gibberish, the louder the twang of the samisen strings filled my ears. The faint sound of traditional Japanese Inca music and pink flower petals slowly filled the frosty air. What started as a whisper, before the tempo began to pick up, soon grew. The confusion quickly began blocking out the tense scene playing out before me like an amusing anime comic. I looked back at Shacho, positioned with his hands folded in front of him, his diamond-studded Yakuza ring on his pinky as if he were Seneca, standing before us, bleeding out. The twangy music and falling sakura petals filling the pages of the graphic comic became so intense that I almost didn't notice things had started to fall apart. At some point, Ian said something that could have been a question, but came out sounding like, "Fook knows, a man called Zeke, ain't he?" I didn't catch Hank's response, and it was only after Ian said, "Sure about that, mate? That fucking dragon may be closer than you think." that I surrendered all hope of trying to keep up. I wondered if that bit about the dragon was a common gypsy expression that all the pikeys just tossed around willy-nilly. Hank didn't take it as passively, and he let Ian know it. The reaction came after Ian finished saying something about, "Aye, it's a strange effect those wee things have on a man." Hank waited patiently for a moment, allowing the silence to hang in the air, festering around like a single snowflake amongst an avalanche. That's when Ian raised his head to meet Shacho's eye and capped his statement off by asking, "Ain't it?" That the avalanche came crashing through the icy abyss. Hank barked, "What the fuck does that even mean? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And why the fuck do you keep looking at that sushi-eating motherfucker?" I felt a powerful hand on my shoulder. The diamond-studded yokai demon on his finger did not ask for my permission, nor was it polite about its command. Before I had a chance to resist, I was being led out of the room in a Peruvian necktie and tossed out into the dim hallway where the steel door slammed shut. Struggling to find my footing, the music started up again, and the vibrato of a woman singing the hypnotic Inca music came to a crescendo. The dark eastern hallway transformed from a gruesome nightmare into a framed, animated series of drawings sketched in soft graphite. I'm able to hear Hank struggling through the thick steel door while I shake the locked handle. Jagged thought bubbles fill both sides of the page with kanji characters written in a bold font. Anticipation fills the next page with only a white frame dotted in mysterious ellipses. The eerie sound of Inca music and falling petals of the sakura tree twirl into a blank frame with endless potential. The sound of the kickback from the explosion echoing through the tatami room knocks me back into a perfectly manicured sands of a Japanese rock garden with no foreshadowing. A blank canvas with uneven, jagged word bubbles, the shape of an explosion, came screaming through the pages when one gunshot, then a second, rang out. Reading only one painful word, followed by a string of exclamation marks in the boldest wonton Asian font on the spectrum, "Itai!" Following Hank through the winding labyrinth of corridors, the fog begins to lift, and when some color returns, I realize I'm trembling. When we reach the Komodo dragon in the hallway, Hank stops short. He takes a breath and then slides Ian's smoking nickel-plated Glock 30 into his waistband. Looking me in the eye, he nods like he's about to say, "Let's go," when the trio of bilingual pit bulls come running around the corner, barking like a three-headed monster. Once it hits them that there is no longer a master to yield to, their tails go limp as they seek desperately to be commanded. They heel obediently to Hank, and he gives one, then the other two a pat on the head, in English. Though I had asked him the question as soon as we merged onto the eastbound lane of Highway 70, Hank continued to drive expressionless, staring at the road for miles. He remained expressionless, and it wasn't until the highway opened up to 4 lanes that he finally said, in a mock Irish accent, "Well, mate, I wasn't the one with the gun, was I?" We laughed a full laugh, but when it fades, he says with his hands on the steering wheel, raising his thumbs, "I'll admit, I may have picked the wrong time to go to war with the biggest drug dealer in the city." He says this as if there was a good time to go to war with the IRA. He finishes, "Anyway, I got some more yo, but I'm pretty sure that bridge is burnt." Hank throws my next question back at me and asks with genuine curiosity, "Well, Schultz, it's hard to say. What do you think happened?" "I don't know, man. I just remember it was freezing." I'm shaking my head, completely lost. And oddly Asian for being that Irish cat's house. In one final smoke-filled frame, a gruesome scene showed the beautifully limp body of the man he called Shacho, laying on the bamboo tatami mat. Dark purple blood was draining from his body like a spilt inkwell, flooding the floor as the fountain of pure china white heroin drifted gently down like little white pills in a snow globe. Well, what the fuck was that about anyway? The dude said he wanted to talk, then spoke in fucking leprechaun the whole time. I didn't understand one fucking word he said. What the hell does "the dragon is closer than you think" even mean? Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. Well, Schultz, that's what I was trying to say earlier. It seems like every time we get close to some answers, these bitches go and change the question on us. He shakes his head. It'll be a goddamn miracle if we manage to pull this thing off. Yeah, you're right, I say, then shifting in the seat to face him. Hey, you know what else could fuck this gig up? I may have mentioned it once or twice before. I pause for a Mississippi before dropping a fucking murder charge. As the exit ramps begin to sound familiar again, he turns to me and says, Well, Schultz, we'll call it a push.